So I think we'll get started. I don't see Sam on, Nancy. Is he going to be able to join or not?
Guess what? Sam is in Maui and
Oh,
he's out watching the whales.
yeah. Well, I can't blame him for not joining us then. So,
So he won't be with us.
all right. So I'll kick things off and then we can open it up for discussion. But um, just just sort of some 30,000 feet look at this. Nancy and Sam came to us, and their committee came to us in the off season, and we started talking about how USA Curling and College Curling, USA College Curling, would work together going forward. And really, the way it's been a great process, I think, and collaborative. And what we've really settled on is that USA College Curling is establishing the qualification procedures, managing that process. We're really how those things happen is really the work of the committee and college curlers. Um, and I will say the only thing that I asked for was a process that I could understand, and I think we're closer to that. So I appreciate all the efforts there. Um, and then once the field is established and we have a national championship field, USA Curling creates a draw format, recruits and pays travel expenses, stipends, et cetera, to a chief umpire and other officials. We worked with the host club to provide timers and necessary equipment, provide medals and awards, and have a staff presence at the event. So um, our role in this, as we see it, is to run a really good national championship that lines up with our other national championships. Now, the other thing that's happened is we as part of our new membership model, um, the total amount that we generate from college curling is basically the same. And there's not, to say if we're making money off college curling just isn't true. But the total amount of revenue that's generated is the same because we've adjusted the basic membership. So now college curlers just need a basic membership. We're not requiring membership at a USA Curling member club. It's an individual basic membership. And only the players who qualify for nationals are required to upgrade to the competitor membership. So it's different than what you've done in the past, where there was a $34 membership, and then everybody was getting billed an extra 20 to offset the costs of a national championship. And our feeling as an organization is that, the people who play in our national championships are getting probably a little bit more out of the organization than someone who doesn't. So that's why we introduced the competitor membership, and it makes sense here. The other thing we did is the national championship entry fee we've made significantly lower for college than we have for others. It's typically 150 per person. For college, we've settled on 25. So um, all those things are part of what we're bringing to it. And then the other responsibility that we have is to work with um, USA College Curling and the committee to secure host sites. Ideally, as far out as 2027. That's part of an overall mandate at USA Curling to try to find host sites as far out in advance as possible. So we're working pretty hard on that. Obviously, Nancy and Sam and the committee, they're a big help in securing host sites, but that's another part of our responsibility as as USA Curling. So I guess the high level take is that USA College Curling creates and manages a qualification process, maintains a website and social channels, and works with USA Curling on planning for the nationals. And then we produce a quality national championship for the competitors at that event, if that all makes sense to everybody. And I will commend Sam and the team for what I think was a great job on the website, and the social media and a new logo, et cetera. So I think that's all good, promising stuff that we're proud to be a part of. But we were trying to find the right balance between giving college curlers the flexibility and authority to manage the process, and then also provide some of what we do for other national championships. And it's really not much different than a lot of our championships. 5 and unders, for instance, we don't put anything on the Bonspiel qualifiers. We select them, and then we let them run them as they see fit, and then we populate the field from those Bonspiel qualifiers. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nancy or anyone else who wants to add anything that I may have missed, and then, or we can just open it up for questions.
Dean, I wonder if there are no immediate questions, if maybe we could move to some of the questions that we
Sure.
had submitted to you.
Yep.
Does that sound all right with everyone? We had, I
Yeah.
think, 3 or 4 questions that came in ahead of time.
Yeah, let me just pull the emails where you shared those with me. Oh, one other thing I will add is we are in the process of setting up a donor box solution for college alumni donations. That should be live fairly shortly. Just want to make sure that however we do that works with the IRS, et cetera. We're a nonprofit, but I think we can take the money in and funnel, into that specific area of giving, and then give it back to the college committee. But we want to make sure we have that correct and that we decide how the donations are allocated. If it does work, that that people can contribute to us, those are tax deductible donations because we're a 501(c). So a couple of the other questions here. Will coaches attending the USA Curling College Championship be required to complete the coaching training course? Well, the coach training is in the works. If it is, we're trying to make it as good as we can so that people get a lot out of it. Coach, you will be required to have a coach membership to coach at a national championship. So that's the same as a competitor membership. If somebody already has a competitor membership, all they need to do then is complete the background screen at this point. Going forward, they will need to take one level of coaching certification. But for now, it's a background screen. And one thing we've done with that is we have made that part of the coach membership. So it's paid for through that. It used to be an additional $30 charge. So that's just consistent with across all our national championships. Through its actions over the past few years, difficulties getting nationals results posted by USA Curling have a separate payment structure from RealNet. USA Curling has made it feel as though college curling and the nationals event especially is not being supported by USA Curling. Are there any plans for USA Curling to support college curling in a greater capacity? This is not limited to the nationals event, but any possibility of support for events such as clinics and camps. So I'll unpack that a little bit. Yeah, we want to treat this like we do all our other national championships and report results like we do for others. And like I said, we will have a staff presence. We'll have some role in the ice making for the event. Whether it's one of our ice crew team or Sean Olson. So we will do all the things that we typically do for any national championship. The only thing I would add here is that what we don't run bonspiels, right? So if it's things like social hours, et cetera, I love bonspiels, right? I love a good bonspiel, but we run national championships. So if it comes to, we want support for hosting things or whatever, we're not the ones to do that, but we will run a first-rate event from a competition standpoint. And that doesn't mean we're going to be somehow imposing all kinds of different rules. We're just going to run it like we do our other national championships. In terms of clinics and camps, et cetera, we don't have any plans right now to offer something specific for college curlers. I will say that, for instance, our junior programs and our junior camps are certainly open to everyone. And we do have the athlete outreach initiative that we do with member clubs. If your member club is interested in bringing that to your club, we can do that. If in the future there's a way to do something specific for college, I'm open to it. If someone can provide me with a way that where it makes where we think there's going to be some serious impact, and obviously that it makes sense for us on the financial end. So those two things have to line up. But happy to discuss further. And I will tell you there's nothing on the books right now to do that, but it's not something we wouldn't consider. And then I think the last question was reconsider the use of WCF compliant broom heads in college nationals. So this is a difficult one, I think, because if we're going to run it as a true championship, then we should adhere to the rules that we follow for our national championships, which means WCF compliant heads. I will say that for most players, you can get, unless you're Mark Fenner or somebody, you're probably going to be able to get through an event with a WCF head, and not wear it out. And I do think the biggest reason why we enforce it at our championships is it only takes one team to feel like they were at a disadvantage because another team was using a head that's not legal in other championships, and they had an advantage throughout the game. So I understand the cost part of it, but I will say they're not ridiculously expensive, and I would say most people are going to be able to get through one event with one head. If, ideally maybe you have two, but I think you have to put yourself in the position if you were playing a team you felt wasn't as good and they were carving rocks in with illegal heads back when we had no rules on heads, it would be a difficult situation. It would be difficult for us to justify after the fact as well. So I think we need to stick with those rules. We are working pretty hard to stick with the WCF rules throughout. Now, what we are finding is that when it comes to things like playoff formats, they don't have a format for every championship we run. So we are putting out what those procedures will be in advance. They generally will follow some part of the WCF rule book, but we want to make sure we get ahead of that because there are events where the WCF, for instance, doesn't run, say, events. They don't have an event right now that's 2 pools of 8 that qualifies 4. So we have to be clear on what it's going to be. And your format is not one they run, but we will reference in the event procedures document and in advance exactly what the procedures will be. Was that I also think, just quickly on the heads thing, I think it's important that, I would like to continue to elevate this championship, right? To make it more of a true, national championship and have not true, but have it feel important in the college sports landscape. So I think adhering to national championship standards helps do that. I shared with Nancy that when we started the 5 and under nationals, a lot of when we took it on, a lot of people would say to us, "Oh, don't forget that this is just a social, fun experience." And what we found was that as people arrive at a national championship, they want it to feel like a national championship, and they want those things. So we're going to continue to try to deliver that at every event we do. And that means some things that are difficult, actually, like finding timers is not easy. But we're committed to doing that at every event. So I'll stop there since I think I answered the majority of the questions, Nancy. Or all of them? I
Yeah, I
can't
think
remember.
so. I'm just taking a look. One question that came in, how can we make Bonspiel fees lower? And actually, I'd like to address that.
Sure.
And hopefully, with getting our alumni or just our own donation subset, that perhaps we could use some of that money to defray expenses.
What is the typical entry fee for most of the Bonspiels?
I would say about $40.
$40 a
Anywhere from
person?
35 to 50 per person.
Okay.
Somebody's shaking. Thank you, Evan, for your nonverbal response. So that's what it's been.
Yeah, and I think realistically, you have to remember that curling clubs need to have some revenue from these things, right? So even though a lot of them are doing it just because they want to support the growth of the game, but we need to support those clubs as well. And I think, quite frankly, if you look at the costs of most sports, a weekend tournament for $35 to $50 is a pretty good value. And once some of you become older and you have kids playing youth sports, you'll probably think that's a really good value.
And
Yeah,
just as an
college bond spills are
FYI,
about,
oh,
they're about
go ahead,
1/3 to
Roger.
1/2 of regular bond spill price
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Just as an FYI, the University of Nebraska and UNL Curling Club needed to come up with $6,500 for the rental on our ice at the arena this weekend. And so there's some real challenges.
yeah. There's real challenges, especially when you're in an arena setting like that. And then even, the challenges are not unlike what we face when we try to find host sites for championships. A lot of curling clubs, some are, if they're, there are some that need revenue, and then there are others that capture so much revenue on a regular basis through group events, et cetera, that they take a loss by not having that revenue. So those are real challenges when it comes to finding host sites. I mean, I'd be interested if any of you play other college sports or have friends who play other college sports and how ours lines up. I'm a little removed from participating in college sports. You'd be shocked to know that I'm not just out of college, but I don't know what the costs are like. Roger, I think you're on mute, but
So one of the biggest costs is transportation, because it's not a sport you can generally play on a college campus.
right,
You have to go to a
that's true.
facility. Penn State's a exception, but
Bowden.
in Bowdoin, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the
maybe-
lodging and food also adds up quite quickly. I mean, you go out for a weekend, and if the club provides all the meals, which they normally do, it's great. But I mean, even lodging, you have one or two rooms, and that starts adding up to close to $600 for a weekend, and that's where the real chunk of the cost come from, for sure.
Right. Well, all I'll say on all that is we're certainly, and this is not just in college, but we are empathetic, sympathetic to all curlers who are dealing with costs to compete in our sport, because we know there are costs involved. But it's also difficult for us to solve some of these macroeconomic problems. So, sorry, go ahead, Nancy.
I was just going to mention that if anybody knows some hockey players, and their fees are pretty high, so I think ours are pretty good in comparison.
Just in general, how have the qualifying bonspiels gone so far this year? In that process?
Well, we kind of have a two-tiered system this year.
Yeah.
We have the bonspiels, and then we have, for the first time, we're going to have 3 regionals,
Right.
which will award a couple of slots, actually a total of 5 slots, to nationals. And so this is the first year we've done that.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that will go well. The first one is the Cornhusker Spiel, which starts tomorrow night.
Yeah.
If I can get out of my driveway, we're in the blizzard right now. So that'll be our first one. And we've had a few hiccups there just in terms of, mixing regions and different things like that. But I'm confident that we're ironing that out. And whenever you go through a change and do something different, there are always a few bumps in the road. But I am very excited about the regionals. We'll have the Cornhusker this weekend, and then the other 2 in February. I see that Roger is here, and he and MJ and the CCA are hosting that. And also Mike Shooter is on, and that's Kettle Moraine, and they are hosting the Midwest one.
Right.
So that'll be the same weekend in February. I think it's February 10th through 12th. Is that right? So I'm excited because I think it could give some teams, particularly in the emerging region, who don't get a chance to attend a lot of bonspiels. It'll give them a chance to compete on a pretty high level, and perhaps earn a slot.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we like at USA Curling is multiple avenues to national championships. So I was excited when you guys introduced that. I think that's a great idea. And there will definitely be hiccups with draws, et cetera, and formats in year one. We've been through that with the junior qualifiers and 5 and under nationals qualifiers, but you know, just continue to improve and learn from each season. But try to anticipate as many things as possible, but nobody gets it perfect every time the first time. So, but yeah, I love multiple avenues to a national championship.
Well, Dean, I'm wondering if we could just open it up to additional questions.
For sure. We're all, how many different schools do we have represented here?
I'm going to turn that over to one of the regional reps, either
All right.
Evan or Andy or Oliver.
Yeah. So it looks like there's 4 or 5 of us, right?
Yeah.
So Will from RIT, Oliver from Minnesota, Andy from Arizona, and me from Bowdoin. So
Got it. And I'm sorry, Evan, but where do you play at out of Bowdoin? Do you play in Belfast, or is that too far?
this weekend, yes, we're hosting there.
Okay.
But for the most
typically
part,
it's
our
too
ice
far.
rink,
Yeah, that's
our
what I
ice hockey,
figured.
which is questionable at best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've killed the room here. So,
Well, I'm going to
you
just
know,
throw out a couple of announcements if I can.
sure.
And again, because we have the regional reps and a couple of other people here, and that is just to encourage everybody to get in their USA curling dues, the $25 dues. Now, you know, there are 2 ways that those dues are paid for. One is through your respective curling club, and then the other is you can do it directly. And so want to encourage everybody to get those in before the end of January. And the other thing is, if you've got any loose points floating around, to get them those in as soon as possible. What happened is last year, you know, when February rolled around, poor Luke Schroeder, who does all our points, was just inundated. So he would like to have his stress reduced during that week, and so if all teams could get their points in that earlier, that would be great. We're going to have hey MJ, we're going to have a big weekend with the CCA tournament and also the Midwest regional, and so they'll be dumping a lot of points in the day after the closing date, which I believe is February 12th. That's the last day to earn points.
And I came around the corner. I've been listening on the other side of the laptop,
Okay.
which is much more comfortable than leaning on the back of Roger's chair. Regarding the dues, in theory, our registration form said we're looking for proof of registration, but I'm wondering how onerous that's going to be. People who sign up individually have an email. They have a receipt. The people whose clubs paid for them, like ours, the CCA pays for our students, don't. But I know who they are, so I don't have to have proof from them. Is that an unreasonable thing to ask for?
No, if the clubs that submit rosters and include college curlers in there, will get an invoice, right? So, you know, I guess it would be, you know, we can tell you if they're on a roster from a club. You know, we're currently invoicing the last, say, 20 clubs or so. But yeah, if you want, you know, if there's somebody who thinks they've paid through their club, through a member club, just, you know, we can pull that up to see if they were included on the roster.
if they were paid for through the member club, they still should be able to get into Sport 80 and see that their membership is up to date.
Yeah,
Okay.
they should have a profile. So once we get the roster, we're making everybody a member. We're not waiting for the club to provide us payment. So we
Yes.
make them a member, invoice the club. We
Because we
deduct
did ours way back.
yeah, we
And the
deduct
October being
the
in November.
memberships that are paid individually, and so they should have. And if they believe they've joined through their member club and they don't have a pro and it's not reflected in their profile, just have them email Lauren in member services. Probably is your best bet, Lauren Rich.
Now, I'm just trying to save poor Luke because
I
I don't know if he
understand.
has to check
Yeah.
all that too.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
So Sam
My
has
second-
made
My
on the
second thing will be, this is encouraging anybody who might be on the call. Haven't seen any motion on signing up for the CCA's spiel coming up in second week in February. So sign up, sign up.
Have a few slots left.
Evan, you were going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, so Sam has basically made a huge thing on the website. I don't know if it's gone live yet, but he's been showing it to me of every single name of everybody who's played in a head-to-head or a spiel for every single team so far this year. And those names will be just compared to the database. So we have all that data too, because we're working much harder this year to submit rosters. So it's working out and it should flow smoothly, hopefully.
Okay, then we won't bother with that. We'll let you guys deal with it. Lucky you.
I should have known that the college students had the data figured out. So, all right, that's great, Evan. Thank you.
Just another comment is my membership is through Exarban Curling Club, and I received a confirmation of that membership from USA Curling with a facsimile of the card and my membership number. So I'm assuming others may have received confirmation from USA Curling.
Yeah.
Will, are you shaking your head there?
That is an automated process, so you should get that. Some people don't see it. Now, the other thing you should be getting shortly in the mail is an ID card and a bag tag. So you'll have a physical proof as well. There seems to be some delay, some people, those reaching people, but they have been mailed out. So
I can tell you that's because I haven't received any mail for over a week.
yeah,
It's buried in a snowdrift.
yeah.
This is a random little question. So I've seen, and definitely this is awesome. USA Curling every week or whatever, every 2 weeks or so, posts all the Bonspiel winners, and I've seen quite a few of the Midwest on there. Just from the college, like basically, oh, they won this spiel, this team won this spiel. Is that just something we send into them directly? Just
Yeah, there's
DM
a submission form where you can send that in. So I think
Perfect. Thank you.
if you can't find that form, just email me.
You know, another point in terms of communication, and last year it was a little spotty, but last year was, I think, a little unique. We were just trying to kind of recover from a change in management. But Sam and I have a monthly meeting with Aaron Kaler, who is the events manager at USA Curling. And we're also talking with Tony Nelson, who is the chair for the national championship. One of the things, we're going to have a meeting next Monday or Tuesday. And one of the things that I will bring up is a way of maybe communicating better to USA Curling in terms of posting national events and keeping that up to date. Because last year probably many of you got a lot of questions. What's going on? You know, parents are wanting to know what's going on. And it may be that I'm sure we'll need some help from students with that communication. Rice Lake, just to let you know, they've been outstanding, but they don't have a lot of electronic internet connection within their club. So it will be limited for streaming. I'm not even sure if we can stream at all. But we're going to try to do our best on that communication.
So just one thing I'll add on that when you do, and as I say to everybody, I mean, we'd like to stream every championship, but we stream as many as resources allow. So when a club doesn't have a streaming setup, it does make it difficult for that championship. But, you know, we don't have a problem with people doing, you know, a lot of people stream games on Facebook or whatever. We don't have a problem with that. The only thing I would suggest is that in advance of the event, you make sure that you make it clear to commentators who may be commentating that to remember that they're not just in a room with each other. So we have had a couple of issues with those. I don't think it's a big deal, but it's just worth noting.
The other issue is make sure the host club is aware you're doing it. They may have limited upload capacity, and you can,
Which is us.
yeah, you can cripple
Yeah.
a network pretty quickly by having
Yeah,
3 or 4
suddenly
streams going.
people are streaming 4 sheets. Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
and it
That's a-
kills our YouTube output. So, yep.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Roger, and Tony from Rice Lake is concerned about that. Just so you all know.
I got a question. Okay, so I got another question, or a suggestion, I should say.
sure.
If your PR, this is for you, Dean, if your PR people can put a generic press release together that could be distributed to all the participants who go to college nationals, they can
Sure.
fill in the blanks and send it off to their local media.
Okay.
We tried to get those the last time we hosted, and we got them, but we got them too late to help the kids. So,
Okay, so we try to draft a release, you know, within a week or less of when the field
Right.
is determined. So we will do that and share it. And yeah, it's a good point.
then everybody can fill in their own school and their own participants and where they curl and all that sort of stuff, and send it out to their local
Yeah,
news stations, maybe get on TV, who knows?
sure.
That would be cool.
Thank you for that, MJ.
I will add too that Craig Perry, our Chief Operating Officer, is on this call. He usually joins Aaron on those calls, and or I do. So we're both sometimes on those calls. But Craig has a long history and background in sports administration, so he's pretty valuable when it comes to schools and sports. So. Is anybody in the Northeast going to go to the Nationals in New Jersey next week, the men's and women's? If you are, introduce yourself.
I think the closest club would be what, Philly or,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know
Philly,
that we have
Springfield.
anybody from the Philadelphia area on
No.
the call.
Princeton.
Oh, on the call.
Yeah.
Princeton.
So-
Most of the teams will actually be at Nutmeg that weekend. So
Got it. So once you're eliminated from there, you can just drive over. If you bring enough kids, I'll spot you the gas money. How's that? But you got to bring 8 or more. All right. If there's anything else, just, you can always reach out to us. Like I said, I think Aaron has developed a good working relationship here with Nancy and Sam, and I'm encouraged by where things are going. And like I said, I like the different avenues to qualify, and I hope we can continue to make this championship better each year.
Well, I want to say thank you to Dean and Craig and others that joined, and for your support and for the greatly increased communication this year. And it's appreciated, and your transparency as well. And so thank you for joining us and making time in your busy schedule to join us.
No problem. And I'm glad all of you are curling. How many of you on the call actually didn't start curling until college? Anybody not start curling until college? It's great. All right. So that's good for us in general. So I'm
Hey, I
glad you're
can give you
playing.
data on that. We did a survey, was it last year? 84.5% first step on the ice is college students.
That's fantastic.
We grow the sport. They may not turn out to be your elite curlers, but every time we go to a Bonspiel, we run into former college curlers, and they're supporting their own local clubs in lots and lots of different ways, not just Curly Am.
It's terrific. We'll use that number probably
Yes.
in the, yeah.
Nancy, you might want to go back and double check my figures, but that may
I'm
be
just,
the first survey from 10 years ago.
it's,
It's
That
significant.
sounds about right. That sounds about right. We only have 1 or 2 curlers who have curled, say in juniors or in high school.
Yeah,
All
we went
right.
all the way out to California to curl and wound up playing a MIT former college team in the finals.
we'll use that 84.5 number until you tell us differently. So
And
it's
Evan,
an
we played
impressive one.
Bowden last year at
At
Peter's.
Petersham, yeah.
Okay. All right.
They're everywhere.
You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a college curler these days.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
Thank you
your
so
time.
much.
All right.
Thanks.
See you.
Thank you.
See ya.